graves and walking again. The guys we killed from way back then. The zombies lurking all around. How we gonna get them all back on the ground? Dead fellas, dead fellas. Looks like what they say is true. Injuns put a curse on you. Dead fellas.
You know, he said, will you introduce me? I'm going to do some, readings from my book. And I said, absolutely not, John. I have a job and I'm working really hard. But he paid me enough. So I said, all right, I'll do it. So without any further ado, welcome, John D'Amore.
Without further ado, I give you John D'Amore.
My friend, John D'Amore.
I'm just delighted to be here to introduce today John D'Amore.
John's a great writer and a good friend, and his books are great.
I needed something positive today, so what better than to spend a little time with my good friend, New Jersey native, the incredible John D'Amore.
Let me introduce you to the novelist John D'Amore.
It is my great pleasure to introduce John D'Amore. I'm familiar with all of his Dead Fellas, Boss Always Sits in the Back, and I'm very excited to hear his reading of The Delivery Man. So please welcome John D'Amore. The man, the myth, the legend.
Vegas, for me, existed in a previous lifetime. It was October of 1977. My last memory of this town was the morning two towering, well-dressed muscle men and their equally well-dressed boss, introduced to me simply as Mr. Smith, escorted me into a waiting limousine. As he slid into the rear seat, as I slid into the rear seat, Mr. Smith sat in the front with the driver. His men sat on each side of me. No one was smiling. We only drove for about 15 minutes before we were surrounded by sand and brush. The car pulled off the paved road and continued on the sand for about a half mile before stopping. The odd part was that the low skyline of the strip wasn't that far away. Mr. Smith got out and opened the passenger side rear door. The driver stayed in the car as Mr. Smith, his guys, and I stood in the morning sun. Mr. Smith looked me in the eyes and asked, "Any idea why I brought you out here?" I returned his gaze and simply replied, "Nope, no idea." With that, one of Smith's men pulled out a pistol and held it to my head. I heard the hammer make 2 clicks as it was pulled back. I knew this was a bad sign. I was still staring at Mr. Smith as he looked at the gunman and slowly smiled. I kissed my ass goodbye. The gun was fired. I was still alive. My brains weren't part of the desert floor. The gunman moved the barrel and sent a round into the sand. Apparently, they had other plans for me.
I knew right away, it didn't take long to see that John was smart and funny, and that his writing was crisp and engaging and cinematic. I remember when I read The Boss, and I just loved it. I thought, wow, this writing is so strong. John asked me to write a blurb for this book, an endorsement for this book, and I was so happy to do it because it's a wonderful read. It's a great book to read in the summertime. It's bi-coastal, it's sexy, it's fun, it's great storytelling.
Rub Down by John D'Amore. Like all his other books, great stories, great characters, great action, murder, sex, it has everything. So I think you'll enjoy this book, just like I enjoyed all the other books.
John has an infinitely inquiring and creative mind. I really like As Long as I Have Lips, not only because it's a sexy romantic comedy, but also because it includes a very sharp analysis of Madison Avenue and the cosmetics industry. And it is testament to that creative and inquiring mind of his.
I did a talk show for a number of years here in New Jersey, and John was always one of my favorite guests. This particular story I know very well for a couple of reasons. Number one, I couldn't put the book down when I got it from John, and just an incredible story from start to finish.
John and I worked together on a screenplay version of this story. Since then, he's taken that screenplay, which was a hell of fun to write, but pretty slight, as screenplays usually are, and he's elaborated on it and made it stronger and better and a whole lot longer. And I think it's a great novel.
I couldn't put the book down. It was so great. I was so enthused that my wife wanted to know what was I reading, what was I so engrossed in, because she was a major reader. And I told her about John and the book, and she said, well, could I read it? And I was like, sure, why not? And the same thing happened to her. And went back to John, and I told him I would be thrilled to work with him. And we started working together, and it's been a blessing. John's passion and his energy never waned, like all of John's work. Is just so damn entertaining.
Back in LA, we were in the SoCal film group together with Terry Rossio and Steve Barr and Danny Grossman.
And I've known John for a really long time. And I knew him before he ever wrote a book. And this is his fifth. Now, he's a professional book writer. And I'm very proud of him.
People say I'm crazy for doing it. I love doing it.